What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look and listen to Senator Cassidy. He's going to be talking about the infrastructure bill, the first infrastructure bill and the second infrastructure bill. Senator Cassidy is a Republican, and you know we're talking right now about Republicans and Democrats and trying to get along. So the major reason why we need to listen to Senator Cassidy right now is because we need to see what the other side's saying, because you know you have the majority support for the first infrastructure bill. They're coming from the Democrats. The majority support for the second infrastructure bill, or all of the support for the second infrastructure bill, are coming from the Democrats. But we need to hear different points of view, and we need to understand why Republicans don't want to go along with that second infrastructure bill, and why Republicans, for the most part, aren't focused on the first infrastructure bill. You do have some. Senator Cassidy actually happens to be one who voted for that first infrastructure bill, but you don't have a lot of support when it comes to Republicans. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. And just a reminder, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you also see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right to the clip here. So it's about a 2-minute clip, and we'll talk about it as we watch it, and then we'll talk about it at the end. Here we go.
About each of those, let's talk first of all about this reconciliation bill. You saw Senator Joe Manchin's statement this week. As far as you're concerned, does that kill the bill? And if it does it worry you that the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the smaller one that you support, will also die?
Implicit in what Joe said is that he would accept a smaller bill. I think a smaller bill is disastrous. But on the other hand, the two are delinked. There's going to be a vote on September the 27th on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. The very fact that Joe is saying he has to negotiate means that the vote on the $3.5 trillion inflation-igniting bill that comes later will come later. And so they are delinked. They are not connected. We'll vote on the infrastructure bill, which will be voted on its own merits, and it's very meritorious. And then we'll have a later vote, they will, on the $3.5 trillion. It'll come back to the Senate. Hopefully by that time, cooler heads have prevailed and people recognize it is wrong policy for the United States of America.
Now, it's interesting. Now, he's talking about they will. He's talking about the Democrats will vote for the $3.5 trillion or vote on that $3.5 trillion bill. Actually, all the senators will be voting on that bill, but he will just be voting against that bill. So it's interesting just to listen to the language, how they're talking, and you see how he kind of, this inflation bill, $3.5 trillion inflation bill. Let us be reminded that during the Trump administration, now I'm not picking sides here, but we have to put out the obvious. During the Trump administration, they passed a $2 trillion bill. And guess what? That wasn't paid for at all. They're talking about having this be paid for by raising taxes. But when it came to in the Trump administration, the $2 trillion bill, there were no pay-fors. It was actually tax cuts for rich Americans. So they're trying to turn back some of those tax cuts and raise taxes on people making more than $400,000 a year. But it is interesting when you listen to different sides, you start seeing, okay, this is where they want to go with this. Now, the first infrastructure bill, Senator Cassidy, he's for the first infrastructure bill. But when it comes to the second infrastructure bill, he doesn't want to move on that human infrastructure. He's not focused on that at all.
So you're not concerned that if Senator Manchin's opposition stands, progressives will prevail on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi not to pass the smaller bipartisan bill?
Well, of course I'm concerned about that, which is why I want Republicans to vote for it too. It should not be a party line vote in the House. It wasn't in the Senate. And folks say, well, Republicans are opposing for whatever reason. I say go down to Lafourche and Terrebonne Parish, the people who will not have electricity back until September 29th, and tell them you're going to vote against the bill, which hardens our grid, which gives coastal restoration dollars, which has flood mitigation, which will build levees and protect Louisiana and other states from natural disasters. Go to those parishes and tell them whatever cockamamie reason you have to vote no.
Okay, so this is interesting. So we're talking about the House now, and what he's saying is when it comes to the first infrastructure bill, the problem, we've been hearing a lot of talk about the progressives and the moderate Democrats. We haven't been hearing any talk about the Republicans. How are they going to vote on this first infrastructure bill in the House? And so if Republicans do come along and actually vote for the infrastructure bill, the first infrastructure bill, then guess what? The progressives and the moderates fighting against each other, you might be able to get them to pass that first infrastructure bill on September 27th even without some of the Democrats who have been saying, you know what, we're not going to vote for that first infrastructure bill until we move with the second infrastructure bill. So we'll have to see how this is a strategy that can be used where you tell the Republicans in the House, you need to vote for this first infrastructure bill. That way we can get this passed to the president for signature. So we're going to have to see how this plays out. But this is another strategy. This is something that I didn't think about initially. But if you do have some Republicans that support this first infrastructure bill in the House and they vote for it in the House, you could potentially have a situation where you negate the fact that you have the moderate Democrats and the progressive Democrats fighting against each other.
What is the situation in your state right now? And are you satisfied with President Biden's initial response?
It is getting better. And the federal partners have been there.
Now listen to what he's saying here. So the question was, are you satisfied with how President Biden's been handling the storm? And Senator Cassidy can't even say that he's happy with how President Biden is handling the situation, the aid that's going out to people in some of these states. He can't even say that. So instead, Senator Cassidy says the federal partners, and he keeps saying federal partners. Just listen. We'll go back a little bit so you can hear the question again, and then hear his response.
And are you satisfied with President Biden's initial response?
It is getting better, and the federal partners have been there. And so I compliment the federal partners, and I thank them for that. But we need gasoline, and we need electricity, and we need housing. And then we need to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill for the long term. So on the other hand, telling people it gets better when they're told they won't have electricity back until September the 29th is cold comfort. So in the meantime, we need gasoline so that people can run their generators. And when that happens, I think folks will feel a little bit better about their current situation.
Okay, so that was Senator Cassidy. And like I said, the federal partners never really giving President Biden any credit for this whole situation. And again, I'm just looking at both sides. You saw it there. I mean, when it comes down to it, he mentioned President Biden when it came to all the negatives, but when it comes to something that's positive, now it's federal partners. It's not President Biden. So just something to mention there. Now, when it comes down to this second infrastructure bill, this is going to be crucial. We're going to have to watch and see what happens with Senator Manchin and how he moves on this, because he wants to pause right now. And I'm sure there are a lot of Republican senators out there that also want to pause. They don't even want to move on it at all. You saw Senator Cassidy's response when it came to this $3.5 trillion bill. He thinks it's going to be an inflation bill. And so he doesn't want to do anything when it comes to this second infrastructure bill. And so if you have Senator Manchin wanting to pause, you have all the Republicans in the Senate not wanting to move forward with this infrastructure bill, the second infrastructure bill, we have a problem. We have a situation where it's not going to go anywhere until you can at least pull over Senator Manchin. And you might have some other Democrats, some other Senate Democrats that don't want that $3.5 trillion bill as well. We know Senator Sinema has already raised some concerns when it comes to that top line number of $3.5 trillion. So right now, we're going to have to see where this goes, but it's really shaky. It's on shaky ground. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, post it down below. I do want to know how you guys feel about this, so also post that down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.